My phone rang at 3:15 on a Saturday afternoon, and the sound of my 8-year-old daughter's terrified voice shattered my world. "Mom, help me! They left me behind," Lily sobbed into the phone, her words breaking between gasps. My heart stopped. I called my mother immediately, hands shaking so badly I could barely press the buttons. When she answered, I heard laughter in the background. "Oh, sorry. We forgot her," my mother Patricia said, giggling like it was the funniest thing in the world. LOL. More laughter. My sister Diane's voice joined in, cackling like this was some kind of joke. I grabbed my car keys with hands that wouldn't stop trembling. The drive to Riverside State Park took 25 minutes. But it felt like 25 hours. Every terrible scenario played through my mind like a horror movie I couldn't turn off. What if someone took her? What if she wandered into the woods? What if she was hurt and alone and thought nobody was coming? That morning replayed in my head as I drove. My mother had insisted on taking Lily to a family picnic. "It'll be good for her to spend time with her cousin Madison," Patricia had said with that tone she uses when she's already decided something. It hesitated. Something in my gut told me to say no. But Lily had been so excited, bouncing on her toes, her eyes bright with hope. "Please, Mom, I want to go with Grandma and Grandpa and Aunt Diane." How could I say no to that face? Now I wanted to go back in time and trust my instincts. I pulled into the parking lot at Riverside and ran toward the visitor center, my nurse's shoes pounding against the pavement. A park ranger saw me coming and pointed toward the building. "Are you looking for the little girl? She's inside with a nice couple who found her." Inside, I saw my baby sitting on a wooden bench, her face streaked with dried tears, clutching her pink backpack like it was the only solid thing in the universe. When she saw me, she leaped up and ran into my arms, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. I waited and waited. She cried into my shoulder. They said they were going to the car to get more water. I stayed at the picnic table like they told me. But they never came back. I looked everywhere, Mom. I couldn't find them. An elderly couple stood nearby, watching us with concerned faces. The woman, with white hair pulled back in a neat bun, stepped forward gently. "We found her about 40 minutes ago, crying near the restrooms," she explained. Her husband nodded, his weathered face tight with anger. "We saw the whole thing," he said, his voice hard. "We were at the picnic area next to yours. We watched your family pack up their things, load everything into a big black SUV, and drive away. There was an older couple, a younger woman and man, and a girl about 9 or 10. They all got in together. They left." My stomach dropped. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. We heard the older girl say something as they were leaving. The woman added quietly, glancing at Lily with sympathy. She said, "Finally getting rid of the crybaby." I felt like I'd been punched. Lily heard this too and buried her face deeper into my neck. I held her tighter, feeling rage build in my chest like a fire catching. In the car on the way home, Lily's story came out in broken pieces. Madison had been mean to her all day, called her a poor girl, said her daddy left because she was annoying. When Lily got upset, Diane told her to toughen up. My mother said Lily was too sensitive and embarrassing them. Then they told her to wait by the picnic table while they all went to the bathroom together. "I waited for so long, Mom," Lily whispered. "I thought maybe they got lost. Then I went looking and I couldn't find the car. That's when I got really scared. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. They hadn't forgotten. They'd planned this. They coordinated, leaving my daughter alone in a public park where anything could have happened to her. She was 8 years old. 8. When we got home, I saw 17 missed calls on my phone, all from my mother and sister. I listened to the voicemails on speaker while Lily was in the bathroom washing her face. The first few were still laughing. "Bria, call us back. This is ridiculous." Then, the tone shifted. "Bria, you need to calm down. It was just a joke. Don't do anything stupid. Call me back right now." Someone must have told them I was furious. Maybe the park ranger mentioned my face when I arrived. Maybe they finally realized they'd crossed a line even they couldn't laugh away. The last voicemail was my mother's voice, tight and nervous. "Bria Louise, I'm serious. Do not blow this out of proportion. We made a mistake, call me back immediately." I deleted every single message. Then I realized something that made my blood run cold. They were scared. They knew what they'd done was wrong. They knew I was about to make them face consequences, and for the first time in my life, I didn't care about keeping the peace or protecting their feelings. This ended now. I put Lily to bed early that night, lying next to her until she fell asleep. Her question before she closed her eyes broke my heart into pieces. "Mom, why don't Grandma and Grandpa love me like they love Madison?" I had no answer that would make sense to an 8-year-old. How do you explain to a child that adults can be cruel? That sometimes the people who are supposed to love you most are the ones who hurt you deepest? I just held her and whispered, "It's not about you, baby. It's never been about you." When she finally fell asleep, I went downstairs and pulled out a notebook. I started writing. Every incident of favoritism I could remember. Every time they'd chosen Madison over Lily. Every casual cruelty disguised as a joke. Last Christmas, Madison got 12 presents under the tree. I counted. Lily got 3, and 2 of them were clearly last-minute additions, still in store bags. When I mentioned it to my mother, she said I was being ungrateful. Lily's 7th birthday party. My parents didn't show up. Said they were too busy. That same afternoon, they posted photos on social media at Madison's soccer game, cheering her on with signs they'd made. Diane tagged them with heart emojis. Family dinners where Madison got praised for everything. Madison got an A on her spelling test. Madison learned to do a cartwheel. Madison said the funniest thing today. Meanwhile, Lily sat quietly invisible. When she tried to share something about her day, my mother would change the subject or check her phone. The time my mother forgot to invite Lily to Madison's birthday party at the indoor trampoline park, Lily found out when she saw photos online. When I confronted Patricia, she said it must have been an oversight. But the party had 18 kids there. You don't accidentally exclude one specific grandchild. When Lily won first place in the school art contest, my mother said, "That's nice, dear," and went back to scrolling on her phone. When Madison got a participation ribbon for field day, Patricia posted about it 17 times over 2 weeks. 17. I counted those too. The pattern was undeniable. It had been going on for years. How had I let it continue this long? I knew why, though. Deep down, I'd always known. I was a single mother. Lily's father, Derek, left when she was 2. Just vanished one day, leaving a note that said he wasn't ready for the responsibility. My mother had warned me about him from the beginning. She'd said I was making a mistake, that Derek was unreliable, that I was throwing my life away. When he left, she never said "I told you so" out loud. She didn't have to. It was in every look, every sigh, every way she held me at arm's length after that. In her mind, Lily was evidence of my failure. My bad judgment, my wrong choice. Meanwhile, Diane married Trevor, who had a stable job in finance. They had Madison. And everything looked perfect on the outside. Patricia lived vicariously through Diana's picture, perfect life. And Lily became the scapegoat for everything that didn't match Patricia's vision of how our lives should have gone. My phone buzzed. 10 o'clock at night, and my mother was calling again. I didn't answer. Then a text from Diane. "You're being dramatic. We made a mistake. Get over it." Another text. "Mom is really upset. You're tearing this family apart." The manipulation was so obvious it would have been funny if it weren't so painful. I was tearing the family apart? Not them. When they abandoned a child and laughed about it? I blocked both their numbers. Just temporarily. I needed space to think. The next morning, I called my best friend Jordan. We'd been friends since nursing school, and she'd gone on to law school instead. Now she practiced family law. When I explained what happened, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Bria," Jordan finally said, her voice tight with controlled anger. "They abandoned a child. That's illegal. You could press charges." I hadn't even thought of that. It hadn't occurred to me that what they did wasn't just morally wrong but actually criminal. "But more importantly," Jordan continued, "you need to protect Lily. This is emotional abuse. It's been going on for years from what you've told me. You need to document everything and consider cutting contact." We talked for an hour about options. Restraining orders, cease and desist letters, police reports. By the end of the conversation, I felt more clear-headed than I had in years. After Lily left for school, I spent the morning researching. I found articles about grandparent favoritism, academic studies on the psychological damage of scapegoating, online support groups for parents dealing with toxic grandparents. I read story after story that sounded exactly like mine. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. This was real, and it was damaging my daughter. At 3 o'clock, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Miss Bria? This is Amanda Chen from Child Protective Services. We received a report that concerns us, and I need to schedule a home visit. My heart stopped. A report? About what? The report claims you abandoned your child at a public park and are now blaming family members to cover it up. The caller expressed concern about your mental stability and your daughter's safety. I couldn't breathe. Patricia had called CPS. Shed actually called CPS and lied to get ahead of the story. She was trying to make me look like the unfit parent. Miss Bria? Are you still there? I found my voice. Yes, I'm here, and I need you to know that report is false. I have evidence, witnesses, documentation. When can you come? I want this cleared up immediately. If my mother wanted war, she was going to get one. Amanda from CPS arrived the next afternoon. She was younger than I expected, maybe 30, with kind eyes but a professional demeanor that told me she'd seen everything and wouldn't be easily fooled. She walked through our apartment, noting everything: the clean kitchen, the living room with Lily's artwork displayed on the walls, Lily's bedroom full of books and art supplies, stuffed animals arranged neatly on her bed. Everything, child, safe, organized, clearly the home of a loved and cared for child. I need to speak with Lily alone, Amanda said. It's standard procedure. I nodded, my stomach churning. She's in her room, should I get her? I'll go to her if that's okay. Sometimes kids feel more comfortable in their own space. I waited in the kitchen for 20 minutes that felt like 20 years. I could hear the murmur of their voices but couldn't make out words. I tried not to imagine what Lily might be saying, how she might be answering questions. When Amanda came back out, her expression had shifted, less neutral, more concerned, but the concern wasn't directed at me. Miss Bria, your daughter told me what happened at the park. She was very clear and consistent in her account. She also told me about years of favoritism from her grandparents. Amanda sat down across from me at the kitchen table. I need to be honest with you. This report against you is completely unfounded. In fact, what happened to your daughter constitutes neglect, possibly criminal child endangerment. Relief flooded through me so intensely I felt dizzy. Amanda continued. The people who filed this report are likely trying to cover their own liability. I've seen this before. Do something wrong, then accuse the victim of exactly what you did to muddy the waters. I pulled out the folder I'd prepared. Everything documented. The timeline of events at the park. Printed screenshots of the voicemails where my mother was laughing. Text messages from Diane calling it a joke. Contact information for Helen and Robert, the elderly couple who witnessed everything. The park ranger's incident report number. My list of favoritism incidents with dates and specific details going back years. Amanda reviewed everything carefully. When she got to the voicemails, her jaw tightened. When she read the witnesses' accounts, she shook her head slowly. Miss Bria, I'm required to close this case against you with an unfounded status. There's absolutely no evidence of neglect or unfitness on your part. You're clearly a devoted mother providing an excellent home for your daughter. The words I'd been holding in my chest released. Thank you. But I need to recommend something, Amanda said, her voice gentle but firm. Consider filing a police report about what happened at the park. What they did was illegal. Also, document everything going forward. If you need a restraining order, you'll have the evidence to support it. After she left, I called Jordan again. The CPS case is closed. Unfounded. Just like you said it would be. Good. Now let's go on the offensive. We spent an hour on the phone creating a strategy. File a police report for child endangerment. Send cease and desist letters to Patricia, Gerald, and Diane. Document everything for a potential restraining order. No contact until they took real accountability. The next morning, I went to the police station. Officer Martinez, a woman about my age with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude, took my statement. I showed her everything. The evidence, the timeline, the witnesses. Mom, what they did is called child abandonment. In this state, that's a misdemeanor. Even if they claim it was a mistake, leaving an 8-year-old alone in a public place is criminal negligence. She made calls right there. Contacted the park ranger who'd filed the incident report. called Helen and Robert, who confirmed everything they'd witnessed, took down their formal statements. "I'm filing an official report," Officer Martinez said. "The district attorney will review it for possible charges." Given the evidence and the fact that they laughed about it, then tried to turn it around on you with a false CPS report, I think you have a strong case. That evening, my phone rang from my father's number. I'd blocked my mother and sister, but not him, I answered. "How dare you call the police on your own family?" My mother's voice was screaming through my father's phone. "We made a simple mistake and you're trying to put us in jail." My voice came out cold and steady. "You abandoned my daughter, you laughed about it. Then you tried to get her taken away from me. You're being ridiculous." "Madison is fine." "This isn't about Madison," I said. "This is about Lily. And you don't even see it. That's exactly the problem. If you don't drop this right now, you'll regret it." "No, Mom. You're going to regret what you did." I hung up. 2 hours later, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw my father standing there alone. He looked exhausted, older than I'd ever seen him. "Can we talk?" he called through the door. "Your mother doesn't know I'm here." I opened the door slowly. Gerald had never, in my entire life, done anything without Patricia's approval. Whatever he wanted to say must be important. He sat at my kitchen table, his hands folded in front of him, and he wouldn't meet my eyes. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he started crying. "Your mother did this on purpose," he said, his voice breaking. "I heard her and Diane planning it the night before. They wanted to teach Lily a lesson about being too clingy. I should have stopped them. I didn't. I just went along with it like I always do." He looked up at me finally, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry, Bria. I failed you. I failed Lily. I've been failing both of you for years." The confession hung in the air between us. My father, admitting he'd known. That head let it happen. That head chosen cowardice over protecting his granddaughter. I didn't know whether to feel vindicated or devastated. Maybe both. My father stayed for an hour that first night, his confession pouring out like poison he'd been holding in for years. Patricia resented me for being too independent, for building a good life as a single mother without needing her constant input. She was jealous, he said, that I'd managed fine without her approval. Meanwhile, she'd been poisoning Diane against me for years, creating an alliance where they fed each other's worst instincts. "I've let her control everything for 35 years, Gerald said, his voice hollow. "I don't even recognize myself anymore. I look in the mirror and see a coward." He asked if he could see Lily, to apologize to her face. I said no. Not yet. Maybe not ever. He nodded like he'd expected that answer, like he knew he deserved it. "If you want to prove you've changed," I told him, "start by standing up to her. Actually stand up to her, not just apologize to me in secret." Over the next few days, Gerald did something I never thought possible. He told Patricia what she did was wrong. He told her she needed to apologize. And when she refused, when she doubled down and blamed everyone but herself, he moved out, just packed a bag, and left. Told her he needed time to think. Patricia called me 17 times that day, screaming voicemails about how I'd turned her husband against her, how I was destroying the family. How dare I, how dare I, how dare I? I didn't answer. I'd said everything I needed to say. Diane, meanwhile, started her own campaign. She posted on social media about family betrayal, about adult children who abandon their parents, about how blood should mean something. Never named me directly, but everyone knew. Her friends commented with supportive messages, hearts, and praying hands emojis. Then Jordan, my lawyer friend who'd been watching all this unfold, posted a single comment with the police report case number and wrote, "Here is the real story." The post stayed up for 3 hours before Diane deleted everything. But screenshots had already spread. People started asking questions. What really happened? Some of Diane's own friends reached out to me privately, wanting my side. The truth was coming out, and Diane couldn't control the narrative. At work, things got worse before they got better. My mother volunteered at County General Hospital, where I worked as a nurse. She worked in the gift shop, but the hospital wasn't that big. Word spread fast. Patricia started telling people I was mentally unstable, that I was lying about family issues to get attention. that I'd always been dramatic. Some coworkers who didn't know me well started acting strange, distant, questioning. I went straight to HR and my supervisor before the rumors could spread further. I brought all my documentation, explained the situation proactively, showed them the police report, the CPS closure, everything. My supervisor, Linda, a woman who'd been a nurse for 30 years and had seen every kind of family drama imaginable, listened carefully. Then she said, "You did exactly the right thing protecting your daughter. Anyone who questions that doesn't belong in healthcare." HR took it seriously too. They reassigned Patricia to a different volunteer shift, far from the nursing staff. Issued a warning that workplace harassment wouldn't be tolerated. I felt protected, finally. Meanwhile, the story was spreading through town in ways I couldn't control. Helen and Robert, the elderly couple from the park, knew several people in our community. They'd been telling anyone who would listen what they'd witnessed. Parents at Lily's school heard about it. Some had noticed the favoritism at school events before but hadn't said anything. Now they were reaching out with messages of support. "I always thought it was strange how your mother treated the girls differently. Madison is sweet, but I noticed Lily always looked so sad around your family. You're doing the right thing." The validation felt good, but it also hurt. All these people had noticed, and nobody had said anything until now. Diane's daughter Madison started asking uncomfortable questions. "Mom? Why did we leave Lily at the park? Why doesn't Aunt Bria come to Grandma's house anymore? Did we do something bad?" Diane deflected, said I was being dramatic, said it was all a misunderstanding. But Madison was 9 years old and smart. She remembered how scared Lily had looked when they drove away. She remembered laughing because her mother was laughing, but now something felt wrong about that memory. Jordan sent the official cease and desist letters, legal documents demanding Patricia, Gerald, and Diane stop all contact with me and Lily, stop spreading false information, warning of legal action including restraining orders and defamation suits if they didn't comply. Patricia tore hers up and posted a photo of the shredded letter online, with a caption about fake lawyers and family betrayal. It was another mistake in a long line of mistakes. Everything she posted was evidence, every angry outburst documented, every refusal to take accountability recorded. 3 days after the cease and desist letters went out, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Bria? It's Trevor, Diane's husband." I froze. Trevor had always been nice, but distant. He stayed out of family drama, focused on his work, and Madison. "I need you to know something," he continued, his voice shaking. "I wasn't at that picnic. I was at a work conference 3 states away. I had no idea what happened until last week. Diane told me it was an accident, that they just lost track of Lily in the confusion." He paused, and I could hear him breathing hard. "Then I talked to your dad. He told me the truth, and I listened to the voicemails you saved." Another pause. "Bria, I'm filing for divorce. I can't be married to someone who would do that to a child. Madison deserves better than to learn this behavior is acceptable. I'm so sorry. I should have been paying closer attention. I couldn't speak, couldn't process what I was hearing. Diane's marriage was ending because of this. The family was completely imploding. Trevor, I didn't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know that not everyone in this family thinks you're wrong. You protected your daughter. That's what parents are supposed to do." After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen in silence. The consequences were rippling outward in ways I'd never imagined. I'd just wanted to protect Lily. I'd wanted accountability. I hadn't wanted to destroy my sister's marriage, but then again, I hadn't destroyed it. Diane had done that herself. 2 weeks after everything exploded, I got a call from the district attorney's office. A woman named Sarah Campbell introduced herself as the prosecutor reviewing my case. "Miss Bria, we've completed our review of the evidence. We're moving forward with formal charges against Patricia and Diane for child endangerment. Both will be charged with misdemeanor child abandonment." My heart pounded. This was really happening. "The maximum penalty is 6 months in jail and fines up to $2,000, Sarah continued. "Given their lack of criminal history, they'll likely be offered plea deals. But they'll have this on their record. Court date is set for 6 weeks from now." Officer Martinez called separately an hour later. "We don't usually prosecute family cases this aggressively," she admitted. "But the evidence is overwhelming. and the callousness they showed is disturbing. They laughed about abandoning a child, then tried to get that child taken from her mother. The DA wants to make an example of this. When Patricia received her court summons, her reaction was explosive. She called everyone she knew, claiming she was being persecuted, that this was all a misunderstanding blown out of proportion. But most people weren't sympathetic anymore. Too many witnesses had come forward. Too much evidence existed. Her church friends started distancing themselves. Her book club quietly asked her not to come back. The hospital terminated her volunteer position entirely, citing liability concerns. Patricia's carefully constructed social standing crumbled in a matter of days. Diane received her summons and immediately blamed me for ruining her life. Trevor had already filed for divorce and was petitioning for primary custody of Madison. His filing cited poor judgment and harmful behavior toward children as one reason he couldn't trust Diane with their daughter. Diane sent me a series of unhinged text messages. I'd blocked her number, but they came through as voicemails converted to text. Jordan saved every single one as evidence. Each message was more desperate than the last, alternating between rage and self-pity. "You destroyed my marriage. I hope you're happy. Mom is right about you. This is all your fault." Never once did she say she was sorry for what she'd done to Lily. Never once did she acknowledge that her actions had consequences. Meanwhile, something beautiful was happening in our community. The parents' group at Lily's school organized a meal train for us. 3 times a week for a month, different families brought dinner. They didn't make a big deal about it, didn't ask invasive questions, just showed up with warm food and kind smiles. Other single mothers reached out, sharing their own stories of family rejection and favoritism. I realized I wasn't alone. So many people had experienced some version of what we were going through. Lily started getting invited to playdates and birthday parties. Kids at school were extra nice to her. The community was embracing us in a way my blood family never had. My father continued his transformation. He found a small apartment, started going to therapy twice a week, and wrote me a long letter taking full accountability. He didn't make excuses, didn't ask for forgiveness, just expressed genuine remorse. He included a separate letter for Lily, handwritten in his careful script. "Dear Lily, I'm sorry I wasn't a better grandpa. You deserve to be loved and protected, and I failed you. I'm working on being a better person. I hope someday you might give me a chance to prove it. Love, Grandpa Gerald." I read both letters and cried. Not because I was ready to forgive him, but because it was the first time anyone in my family had truly taken accountability without deflecting or making excuses. I gave the letters to Jordan to acknowledge receipt but didn't respond directly. I wasn't ready yet. Lily's therapy was helping immensely. Dr. Sarah, her child psychologist, specialized in family trauma. Through art and play therapy, Lily was processing years of feeling less than, of being overlooked, of believing something was wrong with her. One day she came home from therapy and showed me a picture she'd drawn, 2 houses side by side. One was dark and cramped with sad faces in the windows. The other was bright and colorful with smiling people having a picnic. "This one is the old family," she said, pointing to the dark house. "This one is our new family, with you and me and Jordan and Emma and all the people who are nice to us." She was healing. Slowly, but she was healing. Trevor started bringing Madison to his apartment for custody visits. Away from Diane's influence, Madison was different, softer, more thoughtful. She asked Trevor if she could call Lily. Trevor called me first to ask permission. I hesitated, but I could hear the sincerity in his voice. We arranged a supervised video call. Madison appeared on the screen, her eyes red from crying. "Lily, I'm really sorry I was mean. I'm sorry we left you. It was really scary, wasn't it?" Lily nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Do you hate me?" Madison asked, her voice small. "No," Lily said quietly. "I just want you to be nice. I will. I promise. My dad says what we did was really wrong. I didn't understand before, but I do now." The cousins talked for 20 minutes. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Madison was learning, finally, that her mother's behavior wasn't normal or acceptable. Then something unexpected happened. A local news reporter named Jennifer Martinez heard about the case through courthouse sources. She contacted me, asking for an interview. I declined the interview itself, but Jordan and I crafted a written statement. "This isn't about revenge. It's about protecting children and holding adults accountable for their actions. Favoritism within families causes lasting trauma. I hope our story helps other parents recognize and address these patterns before they cause irreparable harm. The statement was picked up by several local news outlets. It went viral in parenting groups online. Suddenly, thousands of people were sharing their own stories of being the unfavored grandchild, the scapegoat, the one left behind. Therapists started referencing the case in discussions about family dynamics. The conversation expanded beyond just our story to a larger cultural reckoning with grandparent favoritism and emotional abuse. The day before the court hearing, a certified letter arrived. I opened it carefully. Inside was a check for $10,000 and a typed note from Patricia. This should cover your legal fees and therapy costs for Lily. I'm accepting the plea deal. I'm sorry. No personal words. No real apology, just a transaction. Money to make the problem go away. I stared at the check for a long time. This was as close to accountability as my mother could manage. Paying money, instead of doing the emotional work of actually understanding what she'd done wrong. I didn't cash the check. Instead, I put it in a frame with the note and hung it in my closet where I'd see it but Lily wouldn't. A reminder that some people never truly change. They just learn the cost of their actions. The hearing would proceed as scheduled. Patricia's money couldn't buy her way out of consequences this time. The morning of the hearing, I took the day off from work. Lily stayed with Jordan's wife Emma, who'd become a trusted friend over the past weeks. I didn't want Lily anywhere near the courthouse. She'd been through enough. I wore a navy blue dress, professional and serious. Pulled my hair back. Wanted to look like the competent, responsible mother I was. Not that I needed to prove it anymore. But appearances mattered in court. Gerald was sitting outside the courtroom when I arrived, alone on a bench in the hallway. We made eye contact. He nodded respectfully but didn't try to approach. He understood the boundaries now. Patricia and Diane arrived together 15 minutes later with their lawyer. A tired-looking man in his 50s, carrying a worn briefcase. Patricia looked older than I'd ever seen her. The past 2 months had aged her. Her hair, usually perfectly styled, hung limp. She'd lost weight. Her clothes didn't fit right. Diane looked angry. Jaw clenched, eyes hard. She glared at me as they walked past, but I didn't react. I just looked at her until she looked away first. Judge Morrison entered, and we all stood. She was a black woman in her 60s with silver gray hair and an expression that said she'd seen everything and wasn't impressed by much. Her reputation was fair but firm. No nonsense. The prosecution presented their case methodically. Timeline of events. Evidence. Witness statements. Helen and Robert testified via video link, and watching Helen cry as she described finding Lily alone and terrified made several people in the courtroom wipe their eyes. Robert's voice shook with anger as he described watching the family load into their SUV and drive away. That little girl was 8 years old. Anything could have happened to her. And they laughed about it. The park ranger testified about the incident report. Officer Martinez testified about the voicemail evidence and the investigation. Every piece of evidence was entered into the record. Patricia and Diana's lawyer tried to paint it as a misunderstanding. Said they'd lost track of Lily in the confusion of packing up. But then the prosecution played the voicemail where Patricia said, "We forgot her, LOL." The laughter in the background. Diane's voice joining in. The defense had no response to that. You can't claim it was an accident when the evidence shows you laughing about it. Both Patricia and Diane accepted their plea deals. Misdemeanor child endangerment. Patricia received 120 hours of community service, 2 years of probation, and mandatory parenting classes. Diane received 160 hours of community service, 2 years of probation, parenting classes, and a requirement to attend family therapy. Both had to pay fines of $1,000 each. Then came the formal apologies. Patricia stood first, reading from a paper her lawyer had prepared. Her voice was flat, emotionless. I apologize for my actions which caused harm to my granddaughter Lily. I recognize that my behavior was inappropriate and I take responsibility. Generic words. No feeling behind them. She didn't look at me once. Just read the statement like she was reading a grocery list, then sat down. Diane stood next. She managed 2 sentences before breaking down crying. But the tears felt wrong. They weren't tears of genuine remorse. They were tears of self-pity. My life is ruined because of this, she sobbed. Judge Morrison interrupted. Miss Diane, this is an apology to the victim, not about yourself. Diane couldn't continue. Her lawyer finished reading the prepared statement while Diane cried into her hands. Still no real accountability, just performance. Then Judge Morrison asked if I wanted to make a victim impact statement. I stood, my prepared notes in my hand, but I decided to speak from the heart instead. Your Honor, thank you. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because my 8-year-old daughter asked me a question I should never have heard. She asked me why her grandma and grandpa don't love her like they love her cousin Madison. I could hear people in the gallery shift, some sniffling. What happened at that park wasn't isolated. It was the culmination of years of favoritism, neglect, and emotional cruelty toward my child. They didn't forget her. They abandoned her deliberately. They laughed about it. Then they tried to turn it around on me by filing a false report with Child Protective Services. Patricia's lawyer started to object, but Judge Morrison held up her hand. Let her speak. My daughter is in therapy now. She's learning that her worth isn't determined by how her grandparents treat her. She's learning that sometimes the people who are supposed to love us most are the ones who hurt us deepest. She's 8. She shouldn't have to learn these lessons yet. My voice cracked slightly, but I kept going. I hope this process helps my mother and sister understand the gravity of what they did, but more importantly, I hope it sends a message to other grandparents that favoritism isn't harmless. It's abuse, and there are consequences. My daughter is thriving now, surrounded by people who truly love her. We've built a family of choice that's stronger than blood. That's my victory. When I sat down, the courtroom was silent except for quiet crying from several people in the gallery. Gerald, in the back row, had his face in his hands. Judge Morrison looked at Patricia and Diane for a long moment before speaking. In my 30 years on this bench, I've seen many family cases. This one particularly disturbs me. You didn't just make a mistake. You made a choice. You chose to humiliate and abandon a vulnerable child. Then you chose to laugh about it. Your actions show a profound lack of empathy and judgment. She paused, letting her words sink in. The sentence I'm handing down is lenient compared to what you deserve. I'm doing this for the sake of your granddaughter Madison, who shouldn't have to visit her mother in jail. But make no mistake, you are both prohibited from any contact with Lily without express written consent from her mother. If you violate this order, you will face criminal contempt charges. I hope you use this time to reflect on the kind of people you want to be. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down with a sharp crack. Outside the courthouse, Jordan hugged me tight. You were amazing in there. I felt lighter somehow, like a weight I'd been carrying for years had finally lifted. Trevor approached with Madison holding his hand. Madison had a piece of paper folded carefully in her pocket. She pulled it out and handed it to me shyly. It was a drawing of 2 girls holding hands under a rainbow. Can you give this to Lily? Madison asked. I made it for her. She'll love it, I said, meaning it. Thank you, sweetheart. Trevor nodded at me. We're working on things. Real change, not just words. I appreciated that. Madison was learning. She was young enough to unlearn the toxic patterns Diane had been teaching her. As I turned toward my car, I saw Gerald walking toward me. He looked hesitant, like he wasn't sure if he should approach. Bria, he said quietly. I know I don't have the right to ask, but maybe someday, when you and Lily are ready, I'd like to try to be the grandfather I should have been. I looked at him for a long moment. Had been consistent these past weeks, going to therapy, living separately from Patricia, taking accountability. He was trying. Maybe, I said finally. But it's not up to me alone. When Lily's ready, if she wants to see you, we'll talk. Until then, keep working on yourself. I will, I promise. He looked like he wanted to say more, but he just nodded and walked away. As I got in my car, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Patricia. Can we talk? I started to type a response, then deleted it. I didn't owe her a conversation. Not yet, maybe not ever. But as I pulled out of the parking lot, movement caught my eye. Patricia was standing behind a column near the courthouse entrance. Our eyes met across the parking lot. She looked broken, lost, like she'd just realized what she'd destroyed and had no idea how to fix it. For a split second, I felt something that might have been pity, but then I thought of Lily's face when I found her at that park, terrified and abandoned, and the feeling disappeared. Patricia had made her choices. Now she had to live with them. I drove away without looking back. 6 months passed like a long exhale after holding your breath. 6 months of peace, of healing, of building a life that felt safe and solid. 6 months without my mother's criticism, without Diana's competitions, without the constant undercurrent of favoritism that had poisoned every family gathering for years. Lily and I fell into a beautiful new rhythm. School mornings with pancakes shaped like hearts. Evenings doing homework at the kitchen table while I cooked dinner. Weekends exploring hiking trails and visiting museums and just being together without fear of judgment or comparison. Lily's therapy with Dr. Sarah continued to work wonders. The nightmares about being abandoned stopped after 3 months. Her confidence bloomed like a flower that had finally gotten enough sun. She smiled more, laughed louder, stopped apologizing for taking up space. She turned 9 years old in October, and we had a party with 15 kids from school. Jordan and Emma came. Trevor brought Madison. Some of my coworkers came with their families. Helen and Robert, the couple from the park, drove an hour to attend. Our small apartment was full of laughter and love and people who actually cared about my daughter. Nobody from my mother's side of the family was there, but Lily didn't ask about them. She was too busy opening presents and playing games with friends who'd chosen to show up for her. At work, I got promoted to charge nurse. My supervisor, Linda, specifically mentioned my grace under pressure and strong character during the interview. The whole hospital staff knew what had happened with my family. Instead of it being a source of shame, it became a testament to my strength. I joined a single mother's support group that met twice a month. Met women with stories that echoed mine. Family rejection, toxic dynamics, the hard choice to walk away. We supported each other through holidays and hard days and moments of doubt. I realized how common these stories were, how many people carried the weight of family favoritism, of being the scapegoat, of never being quite enough in their parents' eyes. Knowing I wasn't alone made the pain feel lighter. Gerald kept his distance but stayed consistent. Every week, a card arrived for Lily. Never pushy, never demanding, just thoughtful messages and photos of birds' heads started photographing. It became a hobby for him, filling his newly quiet life with something beautiful. I saw a cardinal today and thought of you. This robin built a nest outside my window. Reminds me that new beginnings are possible. Your grandpa is proud of you. Lily kept the cards in a special box under her bed. After 3 months of this steady presence, she asked me one morning over breakfast, "Do you think Grandpa Gerald really changed?" I considered the question carefully. I think he's trying. But change takes time. We'll see if he keeps it up. Can I see him? She asked, her voice small. Just to see if he's different. My instinct was to say no. To keep her protected from anyone who'd hurt her before. But Dr. Sarah had been preparing us for this possibility. Lily was ready, if she wanted it. And it would be supervised. We arranged a meeting at the Botanical Gardens on a Saturday morning. Neutral territory, beautiful and open. It'd be there the entire time. Gerald arrived 10 minutes early. Had lost weight, looked healthier somehow. His eyes were clearer. He smiled when he saw us, but it was nervous, hopeful, careful. "Hi, Lily," he said gently. "Hi, Grandpa." They walked through the gardens together while I stayed a respectful distance behind. Gerald showed her his camera, explained how he'd been photographing birds, teaching himself patience and observation. He pointed out flowers and asked about her art class and listened, really listened, when she talked. At one point, Lily stopped walking and looked up at him. "Why did you let them be mean to me?" Gerald knelt down so they were eye level. "Because I was scared. I let your grandma make all the decisions because it was easier than standing up to her. But being scared isn't an excuse. I should have protected you. And I didn't. I'm sorry, Lily. I'm learning to be braver now. Are you going to leave me again?" Her voice trembled. "No. I promise. I'm here as long as you want me to be." They spent 2 hours at the gardens. When we left, Lily hugged him goodbye. It wasn't the tight, trusting hug of a grandchild who felt completely safe. But it was a start. We started meeting twice a month. Slowly, carefully, Gerald earned back small pieces of trust. Trevor's divorce from Diane finalized in November. He got primary custody of Madison. Diane was granted supervised visitation only, pending completion of her court-mandated therapy. She was fighting it, claiming the system was biased against her, refusing to take responsibility. But Madison was thriving. Away from Diana's constant criticism and competition, away from Patricia's favoritism, Madison softened, became kinder, more thoughtful. She and Lily started playing together again. But the dynamic was different now. More equal, more genuine. Madison told me once, very seriously, "Lily is the bravest person I know." She told the truth even when it was hard. I want to be like that. The cousins were healing together, learning what healthy family relationships could look like. Community impact rippled outward in ways I'd never expected. The local school district implemented new training for teachers on recognizing signs of favoritism and emotional abuse in families. Parent-teacher conferences now included specific check-ins about family dynamics. Several other families came forward with their own stories after seeing the news coverage. A support group formed for adults processing childhood trauma from being the unfavored grandchild. I spoke at one of their meetings, sharing our story, and the room was full of people crying and nodding and finally feeling seen. One woman told me afterward, "I thought I was crazy for 30 years. My therapist kept saying it was real, but I didn't believe it until I heard your story. Thank you for being brave enough to speak up." That's when I realized our pain had purpose. By refusing to stay silent, by demanding accountability, WED opened a door for other people to name their own trauma and start healing. 5 months after the court hearing, a handwritten letter arrived. Patricia's shaky handwriting on the envelope. My first instinct was to throw it away. But curiosity won. "Dear Bria," it began. The letter was 3 pages long, rambling and emotional. She was in therapy now. Her therapist had told her to take accountability without expecting anything in return. She was trying. She admitted she'd been wrong. That Shed treated Lily terribly because she was punishing me for choices Shed disagreed with. That Shed favored Madison because Diane's life looked like what Patricia had wanted for me. That Shed destroyed her own family trying to control everyone. Gerald had filed for divorce. Not a separation, a divorce. After 35 years of marriage, Head decided he couldn't be married to who Shed become. Diane barely spoke to her. Patricia spent most days alone, with a lot of time to think. "I think about Lily's face when she was little," she wrote. "How she used to run to hug me. I threw that away. I think about you. How strong you've always been. I never told you I was proud of you. I should have. I'm not asking to see you or Lily. I know I don't have that right. I just wanted you to know you were right about everything. And am sorry." I read the letter 3 times, cried, felt a confusing mix of vindication and sadness. I showed it to Dr. Sarah, my own therapist. Id started going to therapy too, processing years of trying to earn love that was always just out of reach. "What do you want to do with this?" Dr. Sarah asked. "I want to accept her apology without letting her back in our lives. Is that okay?" "Absolutely. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. You can acknowledge her accountability while maintaining boundaries." I wrote back briefly, "Mom, thank you for your honesty. I accept your apology. I hope therapy helps you find peace. Lily and I are doing well. We've built a good life. Maybe someday in the future, if you continue your work and if Lily wants to, we can revisit contact. But not now. I wish you healing. Bria." A week later, a card arrived. Just 2 words, "Thank you." I put it in a drawer and moved forward. One evening in late November, Lily and I were making dinner together. She was stirring pasta sauce while I chopped vegetables. Comfortable silence between us, the kind that comes from feeling safe with someone. "Mom," she said suddenly, "do you think Grandma will ever really change?" I thought carefully before answering. "I don't know, sweetheart. Change is hard, especially for adults who've been the same way for a long time. But I know this, whether she changes or not, we're okay. We have each other. We have people who love us. That's what matters." Lily nodded, considering this. "I'm glad you're my mom." My throat tightened. "I'm glad you're my daughter. Best thing that ever happened to me." She put down the spoon and hugged me tight. We stood there in our little kitchen, holding each other, and I felt a profound sense of peace. Wed walked through fire and come out stronger. December brought an unexpected opportunity. The gallery where Lily had taken her weekly art class was hosting a young artist exhibition. They'd invited Lily to display a series of paintings. She'd been working on them for months with her teacher's guidance. The series was called Families. Each painting showed a different type of family. A single mom and daughter. Two moms with kids. Two dads with kids. Grandparents raising grandchildren. Adopted families. Foster families. All different, all valid, all full of love. The opening reception was on a Friday evening. I invited everyone who mattered. Jordan and Emma, Trevor and Madison, Gerald, Helen and Robert, some co-workers, neighbors, friends from school. 20 people came to celebrate Lily. The gallery owner asked if Lily wanted to say a few words. She'd been practicing with me all week. She stood in front of her paintings, 9 years old and brave as a lion. My art series is called Families, she said, her voice clear. I made it because I learned that family isn't just who you're related to. It's who shows up for you, who keeps you safe, who loves you even when things are hard. I used to think my family was small. Now I know it's huge. Thank you everyone for being my family. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Helen sobbed openly. Robert had his arm around her, his own eyes wet. Jordan squeezed my hand. Gerald stood in the back, crying quietly, probably realizing what he'd almost lost forever. After the reception, as people were leaving, Trevor approached me. Madison wants to know if Lily can come over next weekend for a sleepover. Just the cousins. Ill-supervised the whole time. I think it would be good for both of them. I looked at Lily, who was nodding enthusiastically. Okay, I agreed. Let's try it. The sleepover went well. The girls stayed up late making friendship bracelets and watching movies and talking about everything 9-year-olds talk about. When I picked Lily up the next morning, both girls hugged goodbye like they'd been apart for months instead of hours. Can we do this again? Madison asked. Definitely, I said. 1 year after the incident at the park, I made a decision. We were going to reclaim that day. Turn it into something positive instead of letting it stay a trauma anniversary. I organized a picnic at Riverside State Park. The same park where everything had fallen apart, but this time we'd fill it with joy. I invited our chosen family, Jordan, Emma, and their 2 kids, Trevor and Madison, Gerald, Helen and Robert, some friends from Lily's school, a few co-workers who'd become close friends, 20 people total. We spread blankets under the oak trees, shared food everyone had brought. The kids ran around playing tag and climbing on the playground equipment. Adults sat in camping chairs, talking and laughing. Lily played with Madison and the other kids, her laughter ringing out across the park. She looked so happy, so free, so completely herself. Gerald sat next to me in a folding chair. Thank you for giving me a second chance, he said quietly. Thank you for doing the work to deserve it. Helen approached with Robert. How are you both doing? She asked, her kind eyes warm. We're more than okay, I said, meaning it completely. We're happy, Robert nodded, smiling. That little girl saved our faith in humanity, you know. Watching you fight for her. Watching her heal. It matters. That evening, after everyone had left and the park was quiet, Lily and I sat by the lake. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Mom, Lily said, her hand in mine. Are you glad everything happened the way it did? I considered the question carefully. Not glad it happened, but glad we survived it. Glad we found out who really loves us. Glad we're stronger now. Me too, she said softly. It hurt a lot, but we're okay now. I pulled her close. You know what I learned, baby? Family is what you make it. Blood doesn't guarantee love, and love doesn't require blood. The people who show up when you're scared, who fight for you, who celebrate you, those are your people. We found our people. We did, she agreed. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun disappear below the horizon. I reflected on everything we'd been through. The abandonment, the betrayal, the court case, the healing. Some people would never understand the damage they'd caused. Patricia might never fully grasp what she'd done. Diane might always play the victim. But their inability to change didn't define us. We got to choose what we carried forward and what we left behind. I'd spent years trying to earn my mother's approval, trying to prove I was enough. Now I knew the truth. I'd always been enough. Lily had always been enough. We didn't need to change. They needed to see us clearly. Their blindness was never our failure. Justice wasn't always about punishment. Sometimes it was about protection, about building walls to keep yourself safe and opening doors to let in people who deserved to be there. My daughter knew she was loved, fiercely, completely, unconditionally. That was the victory. Everything else was just noise. Driving home through twilight, the radio playing softly, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Lily had fallen asleep in the back seat, a small smile on her face. "We did it, baby," I whispered. "We're free." I drove through streets lit with evening lamps, pulled into our parking lot, carried my sleeping daughter inside, tucked her into bed, kissed her forehead. "Love you, Mommy," she murmured, half asleep. "Love you more than anything," I whispered back. I closed her door gently and stood in the hallway of our safe, happy home. Breathed deeply, felt peace settle into my bones like coming home after a long journey. We'd walked through fire and come out on the other side. Not unscathed, but stronger. Not unchanged, but better. We'd learned who we could trust and who we needed to release. We'd built a family of choice that was more solid than anything blood had ever given us. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones we're supposed to trust. But their betrayal doesn't have to define our story. We have the power to protect ourselves, to build new families, to choose love over loyalty to dysfunction. You are not obligated to maintain relationships with people who harm you, even if they're family. You deserve safety. You deserve respect. You deserve people who see your worth, and when you find them, or build that family yourself, you've already won. That night, standing in my hallway, I knew with absolute certainty we had won. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced favoritism in your family? How did you handle it? What would you do in my situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story matters, and you're not alone. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button. It helps others who need to hear this message find it. Subscribe to the channel for more real stories about family, healing, and finding your strength. And please share this with anyone who might need to hear that it's okay to protect yourself and your children, even from family. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being part of this community. Remember, you are enough exactly as you are. The right people will see it. Keep choosing yourself. Keep choosing your peace. Keep building your own family of people who truly love you. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.